Hello everyone, this is D. King Bay, your book granny here with a double book review for you. Today I'm going to review Only a Monster and Never a Hero by Vanessa Lynn. Yes, I have both books, but okay, what had happened was I read Never a Hero and I'm gonna set that thing down somewhere. There you go, you have it, might be in a car, bag, somewhere, I don't know. I looked for it and it just didn't happen, so I'll find it eventually. But anywho, let's get on back to this here review. I will say this is a young adult fantasy set in contemporary times, but there is some time travel back to other times. I personally do not usually like time travel books. Don't like it, don't like it, don't like it. So I am glad that I didn't know that this is time travel before I picked it up, or else I would be like, ew, I'm not reading that. So yeah, I actually like this time travel one, so it was different. So I'm glad that I had the opportunity to pick it up, because as y'all know by now, if you watch my videos, I don't really read them back blurbs. So there is that. Okay, so first let's talk about Only a Monster. In Only a Monster, you have Joan. You have the same characters throughout both books. I will say I thought it was a duology, but when I was reading the second book, as I kept on going, I'm like, there is no way this is a duology. This must be at least a trilogy or a triology, as I said in one video. I kind of like that word. I might start using it. But anyway, so in the first book, in Only a Monster, we have Joan. She's this 16-year-old girl. She's over in there in England. Over the summer, she usually stays with her grandmother, who she's visiting. And her grandmother's always like, oh, we're monsters. We're monsters. Her whole life she's been talking about we're monsters. And her family is very loving and good. So in her mind, how are we monsters? So she's just thinking her grandma, who's a little bit eccentric, we shall say, is just joking with her that they're monsters. Then one day she's at this restaurant about to meet this boy that she likes, you know, minding her own little self business, and one of her neighbors has an issue and she goes to help that neighbor, and when she touches him, next thing she knows, she's in that evening. This is in the morning, she's in that evening. She's like, what the heck just happened? She time traveled by touching this man. Now, the way that their monsters work in this book, a monster is someone they going, and if they touch you, they drain your life. So if they take a week from you, they can go backwards in time a week or forward time a week, like that. And that's what they consider monsters. Now, something terrible happens to her. And of course, anyone who can control time, right? You're going to go back in time and try and fix whatever that issue is so it doesn't happen again. That's a thing that happens quite often, and that happens in this book too. And one of the reasons I don't like time travel books, because I'm like, that's like cheating. You can just go back and change things, right? This book don't let you quite do that, because when you do things to change time always tries to go back to its original timeline, and other things happen, so you just end up making it worse and worse and worse and worse. Let's just put it that way. At least for her, that's what it seems to be. So she's trying to get things back to how they used to be. And that's the main part of this book. Now, I will say that for her, she was going through a lot, because there's no such thing as monsters, right? There are no monsters. So to find out, I can travel through time, but that she's taking someone's life, part of their life, like making them live a year or a day less, that horrifies her. Ooh, that's horrible. So she doesn't want to be like that either. So she's going through in her mind, I'm a monster. My family is monsters. What are we going to do with this? In the meantime, in between time, the guy that she really, really, really likes, this guy that she was going on a date with, the very beginning of the book, he's the hero. He's the one that slays monsters. So you can see how that's going to work out, right? So that's what the book one is about. And actually book two, because, you know, it's a series. So anyway, I will say in the first book, it deals a lot with her trying to figure out how the world to her and relationships, like these monsters, they have families, and some families don't like other families, and she's still getting over the shock that, okay, I can still time from somebody. It's just, she has a lot to deal with in her head, and the situation that she's trying to reverse that had happened, and things just keep getting worse and worse for her. And she's trying to she gets allies. Some people that should be her enemy become her allies, things like that. That sort of thing. I actually like this first book. They did not do, like when you have a duology, usually, and like I said, I thought this was a duology. So in the first book, we did not see the hero too much. They didn't build on their relationship, very little of that going on at all, because that's usually how it works in these books. In the first one, you're not gonna get too much of it. In the second one, you can like, okay, they get going and boom, for the duology to the end. But since this is a 3-parter, that happens. So you don't get a lot of hero in this first book, which was expected, but her building her friendships with these other people. There was this other person. It's funny, I had read like the beginning of the blurb, and I was like, sometimes the blurbs don't actually fit the books, shall we say. So there's this guy in this first book that's named Aaron, and I thought I'm like, is he gonna be the hero? I'm like, no, he's not the hero, because they spent a lot of time building their relationship. So I figured in that second book, they're going to show this triangular thing going on, right? So that was the first book. I liked it. I did like this first book. I liked the way they dealt with the time. I liked the pacing of it. Everything went fast. What I didn't like was, like I said, she was supposed to be 16, 17-year-old, and she literally never listens to anyone, which I understand when you're 16, but she was acting a little bit younger than 16 or 17. Let's say she was like maybe a 13, 14-year-old. I mean, I'd be like, okay, so there's red on this book, and she'd be like, no, that's not red. I mean, it's like that. No, that's red. I'm not colorblind. You are, even though she was. I'm just giving an example. She wouldn't listen to the people who know about things. I mean, she didn't know about being a monster, right? A monster. And there were people who did know, so maybe you should listen to those people. I'm just saying, they've been doing it a whole lot longer than you. Maybe they know something. So we're going to put that there. Another thing I don't like about this series, and not just this book, this series, is what their concept of a monster is. I played Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder, and we play roles. It's a role-playing game where we were monsters. And monsters, when I think about monster, I think of something, of a creature that will maybe like, I'm coming to eat you, and it's scary, and that's its nature, is just to go and destroy. Whereas these are just people who are time travelers, and granted, they do have some other abilities depending on your family, but they're pretty much just time travelers, and they don't even have to time travel if they don't want to. They don't have to go around stealing people's lives. They still live just fine, so I don't know. When I just thought it would actually be monsters instead of time travelers. So I had put that to the side. Okay, so that was book 1, and my main issue with this series is the monsters aren't really monsters, but I really like the way they dealt with time, because as I said, I usually don't like time travel books, but they dealt very well with it in this book. They did a good job. Now on to the second book, Never a Hero. Y'all, with as much as I liked this first book, was as much as I couldn't stand that second book. I do not know what the heck happened to Vanessa. No. I'm sorry. I feel so bad, but no, that was a hot mess, as I say. It was a hot mess. No, she shouldn't have done that. Let's see, where shall we start? In the second book, you start learning about this hero, and he's in, you get more of him with her. They're traveling together to do things, and he is flatter than this book. Okay, his character is so flat, and there's just nothing to him. You're like, okay, you just happen to be a couple just because we're saying they're a couple. I mean, it just with nothing to him. I did not. It was just terrible. They just seemed to roam all over the place. It was just the reasoning behind things just wasn't holding together. It was bad. I'm sorry, it was just bad. And after reading this first one, I was like, oh, they did so good. And then came that second book, and I'm like, no. I'm not saying they messed up their magic, the rules that they set up for the world. It just, the whole plot fell flat. I don't want to tell you too much about the second plot, because in the first plot, of course, they try to change time, right? Because that's how it works. That's how it always works. You think everything's great, cool, fine, dandy. Then we get into the second book and like, there are people dead that shouldn't be dead. What have I done? Now I need to go back and try and fix this again. And so she gets to know this hero again, and we go through this thing again with everybody. But it was she has to re-meet everybody. It was just really, really messy. I didn't connect to the characters as much. It was bad. It's just bad. I mean, the banter, it was just, in the first book, it's hard to explain. There were like, five of them. They finally became like friends. They got together. In that second book, yeah, she had to meet them all again, but they were still all these little individual things that didn't seem like they fit together at all. And it was just a hot mess. That's all I can say. I am sorry, but it was a mess. I haven't decided if I'm going to read that third book or not. I think I will wait for somebody to say, hey, that first book was good. She kind of lost her mind a little bit in that second book. But this third book, she back on like that first book. Because, this second book was a waste of my time. So I could skip that mess altogether. I am so sorry to be down in that book. I really do. I'm going to tell you guys something. I do not like dogging out books because I'm an author too. But as an author, I also sometimes people just didn't like that book. So there you go. I just didn't like that book, and I don't have a problem with that. But, yeah. So hopefully we'll see her next book. I don't know when the third book's going to come out. Hopefully it's better, and you guys will say, hey, Dee, this one was much better. You need to get back on that. Or maybe I don't know what I'll do. I'll go on Amazon and read like the first chapter to see if it's a little better. We'll see what happens. So that's that. I did get my special editions from Fairy Loot. So I got these from Fairy Loot. It comes with the little author letter and all that sort of stuff. Let's see. You'll like this. Now this one is the Only a Monster. See the inside cover? Let me see if you're getting it all in there. Let me put that closer. There you go. That is how they get those alternate covers. I love that stuff, the alternate art. And here goes the original, the first cover. It's not really the original. Here, let me show you what the original is. It's more gray than blue. And here goes the book itself. Whoops, the heart. And I wish I could find my Never a Hero. I'm gonna have to find that. I might edit this video later and put some more onto it. And the spine, the side. And did this have end pages? This does not have special end pages, but it is actually signed, which I actually kind of like her signature. That's kind of nice. So again, I got it from Fairy Loot, and when I looked on there last time, I believe I saw some more. So you can still get these from Fairy Loot. So they have both of them. So that's that. I do recommend the first book. I'm not really recommending that second book. I think you can skip it and you're not gonna have missed nothing. So I'm sorry, you can miss that second book if you want. So that's it. You guys have a great day and go read something fun. Bye bye.